My stepsister pleaded with me for $5,000, claiming it was for a dire emergency, only to blow it on a lavish vacation. When I told our parents, they uncovered that she'd also conned them out of $3,000, and now she's being forced to liquidate her possessions. Our relationship had always been strong. We're both in our mid-20s and have been close since our parents tied the knot a decade ago. We even shared an apartment for a couple of years without any major conflicts. I genuinely believed we had a bond of trust. So when she approached me about a month ago, begging for $5,000 to handle an urgent crisis, I took her seriously. She was evasive about the details, and when I pressed her for an explanation, she seemed on the brink of tears, saying, "I can't talk about it, but I desperately need your help. I'll repay you next month, I swear." Her distress seemed real, and I assumed it was something serious, maybe medical or a personal crisis she was too ashamed to share. I don't know much about women's health issues, so I figured it could be something sensitive like that. No need to grill me in the comments, haha. After some hesitation, I decided to help her out. The $5,000 came from my personal savings, money I'd earmarked for my own plans, but I couldn't bear the thought of letting her down in what seemed like a desperate moment. Fast forward to this week and I got a bombshell from our cousin of all people. My cousin casually asked if my stepsister had a blast on her Hawaii trip. I was dumbfounded. Hawaii trip? What? That's when the truth spilled out. Apparently, right after I gave her the money, my stepsister jetted off to Hawaii with her boyfriend for a luxury getaway. Think first-class flights, a swanky resort, and tropical drinks by the beach. The full influencer vibe. At first, I thought it had to be a mix-up. Maybe my cousin was mistaken. But no, she showed me photos my stepsister had sent her, flaunting her trip. There she was, grinning on a Waikiki beach with a cocktail, living her best life. I asked my cousin why my stepsister would share those photos, knowing she'd claimed to be broke and had borrowed $5,000 from me for an emergency. My cousin dropped another bombshell. My stepsister sent the pictures to rub it in her face. Apparently, my cousin has always dreamed of visiting Hawaii but can't afford it, and my stepsister knew this. She bragged about pulling it off just to make my cousin jealous. So not only did my stepsister lie to me and misuse my money, she also used the trip to spite our cousin. I can't wrap my head around why she'd be so cruel other than sheer pettiness. I'm livid. That $5,000 was a massive hit to my savings, and I only gave it to her because I believed she was in genuine trouble. To learn, she squandered it on a fancy vacation and then flaunted it. It's infuriating. I've been simmering with anger for a day, trying to figure out my next move. I hate family conflict, and confronting her feels like dropping a bomb. For now, I haven't done anything because I'm still processing the betrayal. This isn't some random person scamming me. It's my stepsister, someone I've considered family for years. I never thought she'd stoop this low, given how well we usually got along. I'm sharing this here because I'm furious and honestly don't know what to do. Update 1. I took a day to calm down a bit, though I was still seething, and decided to confront my stepsister about the Hawaii photos. I wanted to give her a chance to explain herself and see if she'd admit to the deception. I went to her place after work, making sure her boyfriend wasn't there, and told her we needed to talk. I didn't beat around the bush. I said, "I know you used the $5,000 I gave you for a Hawaii vacation. I've seen the photos. Care to explain?" She tried to play dumb at first, acting confused and saying, "What photos? What trip?" But I cut her off, mentioning our cousin's name and the vacation pics. That shut down her act fast. She switched gears and tried to justify her actions, and her excuse was beyond absurd. She claimed the emergency was her needing a mental health break. I kid you not. She said she was so overwhelmed by work and life that a luxury vacation was the only way to avoid a total breakdown. She framed it as if skipping the trip would have landed her in a mental health crisis, making it practically a medical necessity. Then she had the nerve to guilt-trip me, saying I wouldn't understand her stress and that I was being harsh by calling her out. I was floored. I get that everyone needs a break sometimes, but lying to your family and taking thousands for a tropical getaway is ridiculous. I told her flat out that her excuse was nonsense. I said I'd sympathize if she was genuinely struggling, but labeling a Hawaii trip an emergency was deceitful and wrong. I made it clear I never would have given her the money if I'd known the truth. She didn't take it well. She kept flipping it back on me, acting like I was attacking her and claiming I couldn't fathom her struggles. We went in circles, her defending herself, me calling out her lies, until she finally backed off a bit when she realized I wasn't buying her story. Eventually, she mumbled an apology, something like, "I'm sorry you're upset, but I really needed that break." It wasn't exactly taking accountability. She then swore she'd repay me next month with her work bonus, insisting she'd always planned to pay me back once it came through. Funny how she never mentioned this plan until she got caught. I was still angry but didn't want to escalate further right then. I told her she had until the end of next month to repay the full $5,000. To cover my bases, I texted her on the spot to confirm. "So we're clear you're paying me back $5,000 by the end of next month, right?" She replied, "Yes, I promise." I screenshotted it just in case she tried to backtrack later. I've heard too many horror stories online to not protect myself. I left her place, still upset but slightly hopeful I might get my money back. I figured I'd give her one chance to follow through since I had her promise in writing. I wasn't ready to escalate to family drama if she'd make it right soon. We'll see. Update 2. The next month passed and big surprise, no payment from my stepsister. I even gave her an extra week beyond her promised deadline, thinking maybe her bonus was delayed. Nothing. Not a word about the money. So I messaged her saying, "It's been over a week past your deadline. Where's my $5,000? She responded with a sob story, claiming her bonus was much smaller than expected, so she couldn't pay me back yet. She begged for a few more months, saying she felt awful and needed time. That alone pissed me off. It was exactly the stall tactic I'd feared. But then, the very next day, I found out she'd bought a high-end designer purse. Not some cheap knockoff, but a luxury bag costing around $5,000. A friend of mine who knew about the situation spotted her Instagram post on a secondary account showing off the purse. He texted me, "Didn't your sister owe you money? How's she affording that bag?" I checked her account and sure enough, there she was posing with this pricey purse and a caption like, "Finally snagged my dream bag." I nearly lost it. She's telling me she's too broke to repay me, yet she's dropping thousands on a purse. I looked up the bag's price out of curiosity. It's in the $3,000 $5,000 range, straight from a designer brand. That money could have gone toward paying me back. I was furious but not shocked. It just confirmed she's prioritizing luxury over responsibility. I called her immediately and said, "How are you buying a Louis Vuitton when you owe me $5,000? She got defensive right away, snapping, "That's my business. I'll pay you when I can. Stop badgering me." Badging her. Unreal. I told her she essentially stole my money for her vacation and now has the audacity to splurge while dodging repayment. She just kept saying, "I'll pay you, just give me time," acting like I was the bad guy for pressing her. No firm timeline, just excuses. That was it for me. She clearly has no intention of making this right unless forced. I can't just shrug off $5,000 and beyond the money, her betrayal stings. I'm done playing nice. After calming down, I started exploring my options. I talked to some trusted friends and saw advice from my original post's comments, and everyone agreed this was unacceptable. Some suggested small claims court, others said to file a police report for fraud. I was tempted to go legal, but lawsuits are a hassle, and I wanted to try one last thing first. Can you guess? I decided to loop in our parents. Stay tuned for the next update after I talk to them. Update 3. Before going to the cops or a lawyer, I decided to tell our parents what was happening. I hate dragging family into personal disputes, but my stepsister's actions were too much for me to handle alone. I called my dad and stepmom, her biological mom, and asked to meet up to discuss something serious. We gathered at their house over the weekend. I laid out the whole story. My dad and stepmom were floored, and then they dropped a bombshell of their own. My stepsister had scammed them too. Around the same time she got the $5,000 from me, she'd asked them for $3,000, claiming her car needed urgent repairs to be safe to drive. They gave her the money, only to now realize there were no repairs. It was all for her Hawaii trip. She'd funded her luxury vacation by deceiving her family, pocketing $5,000 from me and $3,000 from them. Who knows if she hit up anyone else? She probably stopped once she had enough for her trip. My dad was enraged, pacing the living room and calling it fraud and theft. He's usually level-headed, but I've rarely seen him this angry. My stepmom was furious too, clearly mortified that her daughter had lied to us all. They both agreed this was unacceptable and vowed to help me recover my money while also getting theirs back. My dad even said, "If she weren't my stepdaughter, I'd be calling the police." That's huge coming from him, as he avoids involving law enforcement in family matters, but he was that pissed. My dad called my stepsister and told her to come to the house that day, saying it was a family emergency without elaborating. She arrived a few hours later looking nervous, probably sensing something was up. She walked in, saw me, my dad, and her mom waiting and said, "What's this about? Why's everyone so serious?" She might have thought someone had died. Well, it was the end of her free ride. My dad let her have it, laying out everything we knew. She tried to deny it at first, saying, "It's not what you think." But with all three of us pressing her, she couldn't keep up the act. She collapsed into a chair, crying, but at first, it wasn't an apology. She sobbed about how tough her life has been, claiming she was overwhelmed and made bad decisions because she felt trapped. She mentioned being in debt and stressed, which was news to us. My stepmom snapped that stress doesn't justify scamming your family. My dad, still furious, said her actions were basically fraud and repeated that he'd be calling the cops if she weren't family. She cried harder, begging not to be reported and saying she was sorry and would fix it. We pushed her on how she planned to make it right, especially since she'd just told me she needed months to repay me, then bought a designer purse. She had no real answer, just more tears, and I messed up. My stepmom told her she'd better come up with a plan to repay every cent or there'd be consequences. We didn't say, or we'll call the police, but the threat was clear. I also pointed out that she didn't just betray me. She did the same to our parents, which was a new low. The three of us, me, my dad, and stepmom, stepped aside to talk privately while she sat in the kitchen. We agreed to give her one final chance to resolve this within the family, but with strict conditions. We brought her back in and laid out the terms. My dad told her she needs to repay every penny to me and them, quickly, or the next step would be legal action. She kept whimpering, "I'm trying," but we needed action, not words. We gave her a week to come up with a plan and ended the meeting there. I'm writing this now and will update in a week or two. Small update. I was out at a bar with some buddies. My gym friends who knew about the drama basically dragged me out, saying I needed to unwind. While we were there, guess who showed up? My stepsister's boyfriend walked in with two of his pals. I spotted them and hoped we'd just ignore each other. No such luck. They made a beeline for me. The boyfriend got in my face, reeking of bad breath, and started ranting about how I'd caused trouble for my stepsister. He told me to back off and stop ruining her life, accusing me of being a snitch. It was out of nowhere. I barely know this guy, and here he was, acting like he wanted a fight. His friends stood behind him like wannabe tough guys. I'm not a big guy and don't do bar brawls, so for a moment I thought I might be in trouble. But I wasn't alone. My three gym buddies, including two who work as bouncers, stood up. One of them, a 65 beast, stepped forward and calmly said, "Is there an issue?" The boyfriend's tough act evaporated. His friends muttered, "Let's go, man," and pulled him back. He kept mumbling about me being a snitch and how I'd regret it, but they left the bar fast. Seeing him back down was satisfying. The nerve of this guy, acting like I'm the bad guy when he enjoyed a free vacation on my money. I told my parents about the incident, just in case he tried anything else. My dad was furious and called my stepsister. She swore she didn't know her boyfriend would confront me, and I believe her. She probably just vented to him about me tattling. Either way, my parents made it clear to her that if anything like that happens again, they're calling the police immediately. Fun times. Update 4. It's been about a week since the big family meeting. After the bar incident, my stepsister went silent, ignoring calls and texts from me and our parents. I think she was hiding out of shame or trying to dodge the consequences. My dad was ready to show up at her apartment, but my stepmom convinced him to give her a little space. They did text her, warning that she needed to come back and discuss repayment, or we'd take further steps. She finally agreed to another meeting at our parents' house. It was me, my dad, my stepmom, and a very defeated-looking stepsister. The pressure was clearly getting to her. My dad started by saying, "We've given you time. What's your plan to repay us?" After a long pause, she broke down, sobbing and admitting she couldn't pay us back right now because she's broke and drowning in credit card debt. She spilled the whole truth. She's been living beyond her means for a while, with multiple maxed-out cards. The Hawaii trip and her regular splurging pushed her finances to the brink. When I asked how much debt she was in, she admitted it was over $30,000 across several cards. I was stunned. It's worse than I imagined. She said, through tears, that she lied to us because she was desperate for money and a break to escape her stress. She kept apologizing, saying she thought she could fix it, but everything spiraled. My stepmom, visibly upset but practical, took charge. She told my stepsister, "Here's what's happening. You're going to get your finances in order and repay us, your stepbrother, and your creditors. We're going to make sure of it." She laid out a plan: sell her SUV immediately. It's paid off and could cover what she owes me and our parents. She protested, saying she needs it for work, but my dad said it's non-negotiable. Move back in with our parents to save on rent. They'll oversee her spending and help her budget. She was visibly humiliated but didn't argue. Sell her designer purses and other luxury items, with all proceeds going toward her debts. So long, dream bag. Destroy all but one of her credit cards. My parents made her cut up the extras on the spot, keeping one for emergencies under their supervision. My stepsister was a mess, crying and repeating, "I'm so sorry." I think she's genuinely sorry she got caught and hit rock bottom at least. She's also clearly resentful about the consequences. She wouldn't even look at me during the meeting. When I asked, "When will I get my $5,000? She mumbled that it had come from the car sale. My dad confirmed I'd be paid first, then they'd get their $3,000 with any leftover funds going toward her credit card debt. That's where things stand. I'm done with this mess. My stepsister's mad at me for exposing her, as if I was supposed to stay quiet about her scam. She barely speaks to me now, but I don't care. She brought this on herself. I'm just glad I stood my ground. If I hadn't, she'd probably still be racking up debt, and I'd have no shot at getting my money back."